Welcome everybody to this week's town hall. It is April the 4th, and we're joined by Steve, Vanny, ZK, Clement, Duke, Ese, Franklin, Juan Pablo, Mauro, Rafael, Subir, Jan, and Guillermo's in the waiting room. Welcome everybody. Today, we have a special topic. We asked you guys over the last days if you have any questions regarding the merger of the three tokens. Sorry, someone still has their mic on. Could you all mute yourself? Thank you.
Hello,
Not sure where the background noise is coming from. Guillermo, it might be yours. I'm gonna mute you as well.
Sorry for that. That was me.
All good. Over the past days, we've asked you if you have any questions around the upcoming possible merger of the of SingularityNET, Fetch.ai, and Ocean Protocol, and we put out a form for you to enter your questions, and we received a lot of questions. We see questions to as many of your questions as possible. General, but keeping you here is and I got dropped.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, Judith.
I think I'm back, hopefully. It only kicked me out of one device. It kicked me out of my phone, but not out of the laptop. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
That was
great.
better.
Great. I'm gonna ask Jan if he's ready to answer some questions, or if you or Raphael would like to give a little introduction or a little update on what's been happening over the past weeks. If not, we can also dive right into the questions because we do have a lot of them.
Yeah, so I would suggest to dive into the questions rather quickly. And not, I mean, those interested could have watched the AMA with Ben yesterday and other stuff, and there has been the white paper, and I don't want to take up half an hour or longer just repeating what was already said and presented. I can make this short statement that in general, I think this whole token merger has very little impact on the working of deep funding. The only thing it could impact, the way I see it impacting it, is by impacting the token price, because that will impact our treasury, and whether that will be for the better or the worse, that remains to be seen. But I think, yeah, we have a sizable treasury in deep funding, and it will remain to be our treasury. We can apply it like we always wanted to apply it. We can continue rolling out our plans and creating better plans. And actually, we are in a very good position to support this merger by having partnerships and co-funded pools or RFPs. And I think especially the RFP process that we're working on is very well positioned for a situation just like this. So Yeah, I'm actually very positive about that. Also with my deep funding hat on. If anything, it can make the scope of deep funding larger, I would say. Raphael, do you have anything to add to this, or maybe something very unrelated that you would like to present before we get into it further?
No, not at this point. Yeah, let's jump in the questions. What I would add, it's already being asked in the list of questions, so let's not take too much time into that. Just a small notice regarding the teams. I don't foresee any major change in the operations, rather than possible change in the wallet of our teams, which even then might not be the case. Okay, so understand that, but it's not the case. So let's keep moving and building. That's the real thing.
How shall we do this, Judith? Do you want to read the question and I give the answer, or should I do both? Maybe it's will get a little bit boring hearing my voice all the time.
I can read the questions. We have over 20 questions here, and if you have any more questions, you can also drop them in the chat, and if we have more time, then we can try and get to those as well. But yes, I'm happy to read them out to you if you want.
Go ahead.
All right. So the very first question we received was, will I need a new wallet in order to get my milestone payouts? So
Well,
I assume the question from one of the awarded team members.
Isn't that a coincidence? That is exactly the point that Raphael just made. So
Yes,
I can
exactly.
clarify that right away. I don't think there's a need for a new wallet. So after the merger, we will have token ASI on ADA. So now we have AGIX on ADA and we have AGIX on Ethereum. And after the merger, there will be ASI on multiple blockchains. And the tokens that are currently minted on Cardano will, well, for all practical use cases, they will just have a different name. I mean, it will be a different contract. We can't just rename that. I understand. I'm not a blockchain or tokenomics expert, by the way. So there will be a migration. But I don't see any reason why you would need to have a new wallet.
Excellent. Thank you.
If,
The next question.
if my explanations are not clear enough, or you want to have an additional question, feel free to interrupt this process and ask a question.
The next question was, will the other communities be voting in Deep Funding round 4?
Yes, they can if they want. I have to be a little bit modest here, because if we look at the number of voters in Deep Funding round 3 and in the test round, etc., if you look carefully, you will see that the number of voters increases at a similar rate as the number of proposers increase. So actually, the community members that are voting are maybe in a minority compared to proposers, who are also community members in many cases, by the way, that are also voting. So with that perspective, I would argue that anyone, whether it's a token holder or not, I mean, you have to be a token holder to vote, but anyone giving their honest opinion or their expert opinion on projects in deep funding is very welcome. And we can only improve by having more well-educated opinions. And at the end of the day, there's no gain, right? It's not like they are taking over deep funding or anything. They can just help us decide what the best proposal is. And I wouldn't mind at all having somebody from Ocean or Fetch engaging with us either on the portal by giving feedback and arguments, or through a vote by helping us decide what the best proposals are. We can use more people voting and engaging in any case, I would say. Yeah, and in all modesty, I don't expect hurdles of people coming from Ocean and Fetch to Deep Funding to start looking at all these proposals and voting on them. They could, well, the engagement, they could have done that all the time, of course. So maybe, so what my expectation is here, I think, what my hope is that I don't expect too much happening in Deep Funding round 4. I mean, everybody's in their own small world. That's how things work. Maybe if a few people are interested or curious, that might happen, and that would be great. Now, if we would be able to get some joint proposals or some joint RFP proposals in with Ocean or with Fetch, or we could have a pool together with Ocean and Fetch co-funded.
Round
I think that might be.
and release it.
All right. I think someone needs to jump on that too.
John, could you please mute?
I think you're muted.
Are you?
John, yeah, thank you. Glad to have you here, by the way. Yeah, so I think that would be a trigger. So the moment we do joint projects, joint RFPs, etc., that might turn some eyeballs, and that way we can attract some people.
And John as well.
Mario, please mute. It's fun, guys. So where was I? Yeah, so that would attract people from those
Thank you.
for good reasons, and I'm looking forward to that. Okay, let's just go to the next question.
All right. So will there be new pools added in Deep Funding round 4 in light of the merger?
Okay, so yeah, I was already getting ahead of myself apparently here. We haven't talked about that yet. And to be honest, the time is not very long. I was actually thinking about starting Deep Funding round 4 the 15th of April. But I think we will push that a week backwards to the 22nd of April. It has not been completely confirmed yet. Otherwise, I would have put it out in the open. But since we're discussing and brainstorming a little bit here, so that would be my target date at this moment. Now, if Ocean or Fetch would come along and they would say, listen, Jan, we would really love to do a shared RFP or a shared pool with you and a co-funded pool, but we need 2 weeks extra time to get that done, then yeah, I would be interested in your opinion about that. But my opinion would be that would be great, and I would be welcoming them. And I think it might be warranted a little bit of extra time. Actually, that's similar how it went in Deep Funding round 3. We also needed to put some RFPs forward for our new strategy, and we delayed the round with a couple of weeks. So there are 2 scenarios, I would say. One scenario is we might start with Deep Funding round 4 on April 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, but that will all be confirmed. Or we will be in some conversations with our partners and due to that move it backwards a little bit. But at this stage, at this moment in time, I think the first option is the most likely one.
Thank you. What have we got? How will Deep Funding be able to leverage the other communities?
Yeah, there's a chance that I will be repeating myself here. So one statement I made in the vision document that we published is that we are already moving away from a purely voting process to more engagement by having contribution scores Also, definitely by having this RFP process where we try to engage people at the start of the process and the definition and specification of the process, instead of just having them vote at the end of the process. So yeah, what I would love to see Fetch, people from Fetch and community members from Ocean being part of that process. Actually, interestingly, for this RFP process, I described the idea is that we would be able to decouple ideation and specification from development. So first think about what is a good idea, and then think about what should it cost and who should it build. So I think that could be a sensible thing if we get enough engagement at both phases. What I mentioned before I knew anything about this merger, actually, in the RFP blog that I created, is that anybody could create an idea. You don't need to have tokens to create an idea. You don't even need to be in crypto to have a good idea. If you have a good idea that you think could be turned into an RFP, then from my perspective, you're very welcome to put it out there. And of course, we need to have processes there that will filter out the best ideas and make them service. So yeah, Ocean is welcome there. Fetch is welcome there, but also Polkadot and Ethereum and even OpenAI or whatever would be welcome there to put their ideas, and we'll have a process to select the best ones and the ones that are best for helping our decentralized AI platform grow. We're popular here today,
All
guys.
right, thank you. Yes. The next question is, do you believe there are any downsides for deep funding if the merger goes through?
Sorry, Judith, just interrupting a little second. I send you in the chat the link of the blog that John mentioned about the RFPs.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention, but
you sent it where? Sorry, Mauro.
In the chat in Zoom. Are you seeing it?
You sent the blog?
Yeah, the link to the blog that John just mentioned.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I would welcome everybody to not only read the blog, but also comment on it. We have a commenting session on the blog. It's not that well used, but it's better to have those conversations related to the blog than scattered all over Telegram and Discord, etc. So if you have an opinion or an idea or an improvement to this RFP process idea, yeah, then your suggestions are very welcome. It would be great to have a discussion there as well. So the question was, are there any downsides to this merger?
For deep funding, yeah.
For deep funding? No, is that a good answer?
That is a good answer. It's a perfectly fine answer.
Seriously, I have to think about what could be a potential downside for deep funding. You know, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, I can think in scenarios, and I can think in a kind of really black worst case scenarios where a community would come in and then, but I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, if I may add something here, it's not, I don't believe this is going to happen, but of course it's a risk that we can face, which is about the pricing, right? When we have ASI of Deep Funding Treasury is based in the price of the token. That's the only thing that I can imagine that would harm us. But again, I don't believe this would be, well, with a drop in the pricing. I mostly believe that we are going to actually go in the opposite situation of having the token price
Well, Raphael,
sense.
you've been with us and saw the price going from, I think, 4 cents to, what is it today? Above $1.
Above $1.
And we didn't need Fetch or Ocean, and also it went down again, etc. And we didn't need a Fetch or Ocean for that kind of volatility. It's a fact of crypto that we're volatile. And the way we treated that is when the token was at a low price, we were a little bit more conservative in the awards. And I'm very happy with that now because the tokens that we saved at that time are worth quite a bit more now, which means that we can do more beneficial things with them. So yeah, it's a fact of life in crypto. You could argue that if our token is shared over more projects, that should normally be a stabilizing factor, right? The more projects have a stake at this, the more stable it will become over time. So yeah, whether the price goes up or down, I'm positive inclined, but yeah, it is. I think in the end it would also I would translate this as a benefit for deep funding. So the only dark side scenario I can come up with, and I really have to push myself hard, would be that if Ocean would come with a proposal and then they would take a lot of people with them that would vote for that proposal and they could overrun our regular community. But then again, it would still be an Ocean proposal that would land on our platform and would help our platform grow. So at the end of the day, also that is not a bad thing, I would say.
Yes.
And then, of course, over time, we are putting more weight to engagement, and we have we are working on adapted voting processes, etc. So even if that would happen, it would be a temporary.
Addressing yeah, sure. No, addressing a topic, an issue that Vani mentioned here in the chat about well, in a situation that we may have more proposers for the next round than regular. Vani, around that, we are running this circle strategy exactly because it's more scalable than a regular position on us hiring someone for an internal team, right? So this setup that we are having now, that we have now, it's going to deal better than in regular situations where we have more proposers than the previous one. However, of course, it's a constant process of improvement, but I see with good eyes. Even if we have more proposers coming, we are going to be able to deal with this wave. Let's say that.
Yeah, so that is a danger, a luxury danger that we become too successful. Well, there are worse things in life, first of all, which is also very much a danger without Fetch and Ocean and without this merger. From Deep Funding round 2 till 3, we grew quite explosively. If that curve would be extended, yeah. So as Raphael is saying, we and Raphael also and his review team are working hard on backend automation to get all those processes more automated and seamless, etc. So we're working on that. And you know, when you're growing, when you're a startup, and let's call Deep Funding a startup, there is bound to be some friction and some growing pains. That's part of it. And yeah, of all the problems that we could face, this is one of the better ones, I would say. I also see a reply, reduced independence or something. No, I don't see that at all as a risk. Well, except maybe for that voter thing I mentioned before, but SingularityNET is still SingularityNET, and we have our own treasury, and we have full control over our own treasury, our own resources, our own people. Nothing changes there. We just have a token, a shared token. So also the treasury of Deep Funding is staying the same. And we can have the same decentralization processes. We will continue with this process of decentralization in deep funding. I think that's probably an important statement to make here. So I hope you appreciate and agree that our intention of becoming more decentralized as deep funding has been genuine and authentic. And it's not perfect yet. It hasn't always been perfect. It's a road. I've said that from the beginning. But we're on that road and we're serious about it, and we will continue to do that. And yeah, our Circle organization is a very good example of that. And yeah, the ideas about that RFP process is a different way of doing that, and also a good example. So no, I don't think we'll have more dependencies on we will have any dependencies on these organizations. If anything, what I hope will happen is that Fetch and Ocean will see what great potential Deep Funding has. I was going to say what a great program this is, and it is, but I think the potential is the most important thing here. I'm not where we are not where we can be yet. We will have a new portal next time. I think that will be great, and there are more things we can do. So if they experience that, yeah, I hope they will be attracted to that and they will see it as a good machine for funding and for getting valuable software back. So yeah, I see mainly upside.
Excellent. The next question is, will the other projects add money to Deep Funding round 4 or upcoming rounds? I'm assuming the question is, will the pool sizes increase or the funding increase?
So I see, so I'm trying to read because I can't, I didn't. So could you repeat it once more, please?
It's if the other platforms will put money in Deep Funding as well as a source of funding for us.
Yeah, so we're talking already without this merger about having partners in Deep Funding. We are creating a process for that, for approving partners, with the aim of having shared or co-funded pools or co-funded RFPs. I think personally, in many situations, RFPs would be most practical use case there. So even without this merger, we were already progressing on that idea. And with this merger, we get two close partners thrown in our lap, basically. That would be perfect targets to do.
Checking in, how's it coming?
Etc. Sorry, Tom?
Checking out my development server right now.
There are a lot of people having trouble with their mic today. So yeah, the simple answer is we didn't make any agreements. We didn't talk about it. I haven't been in touch with Fetch or Ocean about their grant programs. But of course, this is a high pressure period, and I hope in the coming weeks or months there will be opportunities. And yeah, the best thing I can do right now is to make Deep Funding, together with you, of course, the best funding program there is. And that will attract partners in any case. It will attract, hopefully, joint projects from Ocean and Fetch, but hopefully also other partners who will like to work with us.
All right. The next question.
Judith, sorry, before, can we address a question of Fubius in the chat?
Yes, I'm very bad at multitasking, so if I start looking at the threads, I won't be paying attention anymore. So please translate for me. Oh, here. What happens if all the funding bodies of these three bodies collapse their structure to be one, just like the tokens, and any such possibility? Oh, well, I'm not sure if I should be answering what if questions too much. I mean, we're already in a very dynamic situation here, and there are more possible what ifs than I can answer. But so the way I look at this merger, maybe that is an important perspective here. I think before this merger, you could potentially, if you want, have the perspective of seeing Ocean and Fetch and SingularityNET as competitors. And I think with the shared tokens, what it does, it gives these three entities a stake into each other's, into our success. So now we become successful if Fetch is successful, and now we become successful if Ocean is successful, and vice versa. So I think the beauty of this thing is it's a kind of elegance, actually, that without needing to make any formalization about this whole process, we have a shared interest. We have the shared interest of making each other successful. So yeah, how that will play out over time, I actually think I like the decentralization idea about this. I like the fact that we're still separate and that we have our own cultures and our own way of doing. Now, if at some point it will mean the way that we continue to work will mean that we will grow closer, I think that will be an organic thing that might happen. And I see no reason why that would be a bad thing. On the other hand, if we would keep our own identity, but with a shared and common purpose and a shared goal, I like that idea also a lot. So yeah, either way, the outcome, it wouldn't necessarily mean a lot of difference for deep funding. I mean, there's not even a reason to think why it would be helpful to join our grants. I mean, Fetch can keep their own grant program, and we can just collaborate together on shared RFPs and shared pools. So there's no need to put that together. I'm not sure, Ubio, if I have answered your question with this.
Yeah, you've attempted to answer that. I think I don't think there was an answer, like you said. I just feel like it was the main thing is just to attempt it and just bring out the fears that are possibly in our mind. So in a lot of people's mind, that's why the question was asked.
Yeah. So there's change, of course, and it's also something that we're doing that you don't see happening every day. So I can very much understand there is some uncertainty. And I don't... Please mute.
Dude, we're getting background noise from you.
Thank you. So that's only natural. People have to get used to the idea. So yeah, I appreciate the question, and it gives me the opportunity to emphasize that as for now, all these organizations will remain separate, but it would be natural that we would start to work more closely together. And especially Deep Funding and Deep Funding's treasury and resources will remain completely separate. I see no scenario where that would change.
As a context for that, I am now performing a research on the other grants as well, trying to understand what they did so far and which status of their current process. So this is going to give us more information to leverage in potential partnerships and etc. But at this point, what I can say is that it's the main difference is cultural, right? We are very decentralized, while some of them are not that decentralized. So even this, we have to have a balance to discuss possible situations where you would collapse the tree or integrate the tree grant, not only about the financial instance.
All right. There was multiple questions that were very similar, and they were, will funded projects still get rewarded in AGIX? Will AGIX still exist? And will already funded teams continue to be paid in AGIX if the vote goes through? So these are very similar questions.
Yeah, and excellent questions and very understandable. We have AGIX on Cardano, we have AGIX on Ethereum today. And if this merger goes through, we will have ASI on Cardano and on Ethereum and on other chains as well. So what will change is that awarded teams will get paid in ASI on Cardano, and it will have the same utility as AGIX has right now. Well, actually, it will have a little bit more utility because you would also be able to use it on the Ocean platform and the Fetch platform. So from a utility point, it would be more. From a value point, nothing changes, of course, because, well, for two reasons. First of all, we're always calculating the amount of tokens that somebody gets based on the USD value of the moment of payout, actually the day before, but so yeah, whether the price of ASI goes up or down or whatever, you get the number of ASI needed for your project based on the USD value of your milestone. So nothing changes there, no risk whatsoever. Actually, it might be easier to liquidate that or to transfer it to USD or stablecoin or whatever than is currently the case with AGIX, because we cannot be 100% sure, but we expect ASI to be available on more exchanges than AGIX is currently. One other important thing here, and please allow me, Raphael, I see you're jumping to add to that, is that there is a fixed exchange rate between AGIX and ASI. So if you still have AGIX in possession, there's no need to rush. You can exchange it next month, but you will still be able to exchange it a year from now against exactly the same ratio. So there's nothing to worry about and no reason for any rush or let alone panic. Raphael.
Sorry, I tried to clap my hands and then I raised the hand.
I tried to
but since I have, let me also add another perspective here that I think it's pretty interesting. If you have a project in the new projects pool or a service, you are going to have a broader market where you can sell your service as well, because now you have Fetch users and or holders, and also Ocean protocol holders that can use ASI purchasing your services on our marketplace, right? So that's another good perspective and benefit that we can have as well.
Yeah, very good point. I made the point the other day about the AI economy, and I've made that point before also in AGIX. That's actually one of the three reasons why I was initially attracted to SingularityNET before I worked here or whatever. I believed in the utility of the token as being the currency of the AI economy, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I think the word AI economy is starting to mean a lot more to many people. So imagine that, that ASI is the main currency of all or many of those payments, at least in the decentralized world. That would be something. So that would be a huge utility for our token and to the benefit of all people here, I think.
It's important to mention what you did, Jan, about that the token will still available in the Cardano blockchain. and Cardano network because there was some not good intention gossips around it. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, maybe one other thing, and not strictly related, but it just comes to mind, and before I forget it, also in terms of projects, there will be new opportunities. We talked about shared pools and RFPs and such, but also without it, you can make a proposal that is related to Ocean or Fetch. Of course, you could have done that already previously. We don't need a token merger for that, but yeah, in the light of more increasing collaboration between these teams, it would make a lot of sense. And one example that I heard people talk about is that Ocean has this framework, which they call predictor. I don't know too much about it, but basically it's based on a lot of small predictive AI services. And what predictor does is get the median of all these services and comes up with a prediction that is better than any individual service in its own, with some AI behind it. And that's getting a lot of traction. And I can very well imagine a proposal in Deep Funding Round 4 that will create one or multiple AI services on our platform that are then connected with that predictor framework. Actually, already one awarded team member reached out to me who has actually a service currently on the marketplace, which might be perfect for this already. So I would love to see that connected in that way.
Great. Jan, do you need a break or a glass of water? We don't have to.
No, I'm just getting into it.
Questions that fast.
Just getting warmed up here.
Okay, great. All right. The next question is, will we be able to transfer Cardano-based reputation/contribution scores that have built up over time to a post-merger ETH-based ecosystem? If yes, how do we see that happening?
Okay, now that's a cool question. I think the writer here is under the assumption that this reputation is stored on the blockchain and that we now will have a different blockchain and we somehow need to merge that. The truth is, however, that, well, I started out with this whole reputation thing on a spreadsheet on my computer. And we are advancing beyond that right now. We have the Fotrack team working on that before also. So we're getting in higher levels of automation. I have a lot of plans there. Maybe you've heard me talk about that before for a way too long time, probably. So it's off-chain. It's basically a database. So we don't need to change anything for that. How that will work in the future, I mean, there's a big potential debate about what should be done on-chain and what not. And so people always say, if it's on-chain, it's immutable and therefore good. And I always challenge that. And I say, well, that may be nice if you're living in a healthy democracy. But what if you're living in, well, let's say China or North Korea? Would you then also be so happy with your trail of all your activity in this immutable chain? And of course, these days, especially, democracies aren't always that stable. So you might feel really safe today about what is on chain about you. But that might change in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years from now. There's no telling. So I would be very careful what to put on chain. And no, I don't think a pseudo identity necessarily protects you from being targeted. So that's a safety measure, but I don't think it's necessary 100% safety measure. So this is a separate discussion we will have someday on reputation, on what should be stored on chain and not. For me, the most important thing that what we do with reputation, with voting, is that it's transparent and reliable and trustworthy. That goes without saying. whether we necessarily or what we necessarily need to do on chain for that is still open for debate. Now, talking about the basic fact here is the question: will you migrate our reputation? Now, what we did in the previous round, we measured reputation more isolated, and what we really need to start doing, if the tools will allow it, is to also factor in reputation from that people collected in previous rounds. So that is definitely on the roadmap. That is something we want to do, probably with a decreasing weight over time or something. But yeah, I can go on about reputation systems for an hour, but I don't think I will be doing anybody a service by that.
All right, then off to the next question. Do you think the new alliance could compete with the likes of OpenAI, Anthropic, and LNAI? Have you considered working alongside any partners?
Yeah, of course, we will blow them out of the water. That goes without saying, right? They're no match for us. No, of course not. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm the authority here on that question. I think each of you can answer that question maybe just as well as I can. But I can repeat what Ben is saying on this, and it's basically one of the reasons for this merger is that big tech is progressing so fast, and that they have so much money that we are so small. So the worst thing we can do as small parties is fight between each other while these big giants are winning the war in the meantime. That's stupid. So we really need to stick together and join our forces. And yeah, it would be great if a number of projects such as ours would flock together one way or another and be able to counter the power of big tech. And you know, that is in good English our raison d'être. That's why we're here, to make decentralized AI, to make it something from and for the people. So yeah, that's all I can really say about it. And I don't think we necessarily have to see these organizations as the enemy. If they want to partner with us in our journey of creating decentralized and open AI, they're welcome. I wouldn't hold it's not that I have a grudge against any of these organizations. But we see a risk in centralized AI and centralized ownership of AI. So if they are willing genuinely to help us build decentralized AI, yeah, bring those billions on. I'm not against it.
Exciting. All right. Next question is, we have seen new models for reinforcement learning arising for a few years. What is the strategy of the new alliance to support these new projects, whether it is academic or industrial?
Yeah, I think that question goes a little bit beyond the scope of deep funding and maybe also beyond my own knowledge and expertise. But what I can say about it is this, that we're building, so as SingularityNET, and it's not even related yet to the merger, but also as SingularityNET, we're building a framework for AI, and the framework will allow different people to work with different AI strategies and approaches, but on a single framework, which means we can interoperate and compare, etc., which is very strong. And also the framework allows for different strategies to be connected to each other and correlated and work on a shared knowledge database, if you want, knowledge graph, meta graph, whatever you want to call it. Neural nets and LLMs are a component in that network. But what you see right now in big tech is that it seems to be the only thing that is being done. And it makes some sense because they have advantage. It shows real results. So there's also big shareholder push just to do more in the same direction. But of course, there are also a lot of experts that have some skepticism about how far that particular strategy will be able to take us. So yeah, actually one of the questions in this voting process we're in is to ask the community for an accelerated minting of 100 million tokens. And we want to use that value for exactly this reason, for creating and buying processing power, which we can use in turn for neural nets and reinforcement learning, and make that decentralized and ignite further decentralized computing power in that way. So yeah, and of course, what you will see over the coming weeks and months, and then maybe even years, who knows, is different architectures between us three that will leverage that power. And that will leverage the strength of each of these partners, the data, strong data knowledge of Ocean, and maybe the little bit more commercial and applied AI and productized AI, if I might say, from Fetch. Which means that SingularityNET can focus much more on what we're really good at, which is fundamental AGI R&D. So yeah, I think I hope somewhere in this long thread I've answered your question. But yeah, reinforcement learning, neural nets, etc., LLMs will definitely have a place in OpenCog Hyperon, but also in the bigger structure of these three partners.
All right. I think the next question you somewhat already answered. It is, will Deep Funding collaborate with the builders of Fetch and Ocean?
I hope so. We haven't made any agreements. I think it would be great. And I think Deep Funding is more than ready to support such partnerships. So let them come, I would say.
Let them come. We do have a couple of questions that are purely related to the merger, and we do have a question that's purely just Deep Funding related, not related to the merger at all. Would you want to answer those as well, or would you want to open it up to the community to ask questions?
Well, I'm happy to let you be the judge of that. If there is a question that I either can't or won't answer, I will mention. If I think it's too much beyond the scope here, but if there are other people that have questions that are more pressing or more relevant to the context that we're in, then I'm also happy to give them preference. But
yeah, maybe let's ask in the room if anyone has a question that is related to the merger, but also to Deep Funding.
In general, I have no objection at all to answer any question about Deep Funding, which is not necessarily related to the merger, unless there are other things that are about the merger which should get preference here.
Let's quickly check in the room, but there's no hands up as far as I can see.
I did put the question in the comment. I don't know if you could read it.
Oh, Mauro, I'm not sure if you're monitoring the comments. I can see the chat currently. If you'd be able to, or if anyone would be able to read it out.
There is a question, but well, was more related by the merge. But say, why can people with AGIC swap for ASI on Cardano and save on Ethereum fees? I think it will be able to do that, right? If
to do what exactly? To be on Ethereum?
To swap AGICs from IC in Cardano. That's the question.
To swap AGIX to AGI to what exactly? Sorry. I think the answer is yes, but
the new token. How you spell the new token?
ASI, yeah.
Okay, ASI.
Yeah,
And
sure.
for
No,
us,
so yeah, no, that
AGIX is
let's
IGX.
just address that. That's good. So there will be a migration contract that will enable people to migrate AGIX to ASI, and should not be a big issue. And if we have it, it will be a smart contract on the blockchain for an indefinite period. So you will be able to do that now and in the future. And we will have bridges. We have bridges between different blockchains that will support ASI, and you will be able, using that bridge, to go from one chain to another. Maybe it will take a little bit of time because before we can provide all the possible options there, but we will definitely work on that.
Okay, here was my question on the comment. I said without minting of AGIX, Deep Funding cannot have the percentage assigned to it by the Treasury. Deep Funding Treasury, if AGIX is no more, how will we now have minting in order to have money in the Treasury?
Yeah. Now, interesting question. Not necessarily, well, maybe slightly related to deep funding. Let's pretend it's about deep funding. It's wider than that, of course, but it's about minting, and minting is an important topic as such. So first of all, we could continue to mint, but then ASI with the same value based on that transaction rate, that fixed transaction rate as we have right now. But as you can tell from the way I put this statement, this is not what we are going to do. We made the decision to pre-mint the remaining amount of AGIX, lock that into a smart contract, and have it released in the same schedule as we would have when we were still minting it. And the reason we are doing it that way is just to avoid any risks, any complexities, any potential issues we might have. And to be honest, I don't see any risk or issues if we would continue to mint. But I think this situation gives the same security, the same safety, but with less hassle. So it seems the most prudent thing to do. So as for outcomes, nothing will change. So we will mint in the same velocity, the same amount of tokens that represent the same value, but instead of AGIX, they will be called ASI. And of course, liable to any volatility on the market that was there before as well.
All right. I'm going to go to a purely deep funding related question, not related to ASI. And I think that's one where you could say a lot about it. It is, will you choose the next funded projects based on profitability/outcomes, or what criteria is it going to be?
The next project.
The next funded projects.
Well, that's not a question to me, right? That's to the community. I mean, it's the community that selects who gets awarded. So it's up to you. And what I hope, so we have this rating system, right? So, and it's created for a reason. You can rate projects on feasibility, viability, desirability, and value for the platform. So feasibility means technical feasibility. Are you proposing something that is possible at all? Viability would be, okay, this is possible. So in the way that nuclear fusion is possible, but not viable because it will take 100 years to develop with and 100 billion of funds. So viability would mean, can you actually accomplish your goals with the team that you have and the resources that you have? And desirability would mean, is this a project that is needed? Are people in need of it? Is there a lot of competition in the market already? Would you be able to offer a good price for it? But also, is it beneficial? Will it make the world a better place or a worse place? And then the fourth criterion would be value to the platform. So will it help the platform grow? That is the fourth question. So this is the way I hope a lot of people will think about it. And yeah, it's very much outcome directed, I would say.
Excellent. The next question is not deep funding related. I'm still gonna ask it. Is the new token ETH-based? Will gas fees be high? And does that mean SingularityNET now has less of a relationship with Cardano?
Well, I hope this question has already been answered and is clear by now. So yes, it will be ETH-based, just as AGIX is ETH-based, but it will also be Cardano-based, and we'll have the same friendly gas fees as we had before. And this merger does not in any way diminish our partnership with Cardano or our intentions or efforts that we put towards our partnership with Cardano.
Thank you. Subir, you have a question.
Well, maybe a comment. So V02AI is part of our first round. We did a little bit of a POC in terms of bringing or connecting sort of Ocean Marketplace to what we were doing, which essentially, created a data NFT that could be used as a validation data set against an AI model. I think in the light of all of this, I think we're going to sort of publish a little blog and put that code out for sort of public consumption. We also did a little extra work around sort of how to use compute to data in this context. I think both of those, the code base and the I definitely need to do a little bit of a write-up to explain what we were doing, but I think that the timing is right to sort of highlight that, I think, and hopefully people can reuse that.
Sorry, I thought you were finished. Continue.
Sorry. No. I was saying that the timing may be right so that this could be a building block that people can build on top of.
Yes, it is. And I think you're also working with Robin Lehman, right? So he also has this data thing. He's also affiliated with Ocean. So this shows, right, that when I started working for SingularityNET, how long is that ago? More than 3 years. We were already very serious about partnering with Ocean Protocol. I really loved their approach to data back then. Of course, there are always reasons why other things get higher priority. That's when I mean, any organization is restricted in resources, and so are we. But that partnership goes back a long way. And yeah, I was also very happy to see these initiatives that were also related to Ocean popping up in Deep Funding, and I would love to see more of them.
And perhaps related, I think this will also put us on Polygon, and we'll be using Matic. I think that those are sort of interesting things for sort of low-cost transactions and sort of reach both, right?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of opportunities here, and the world is wide open, and we have to explore that. And it's a good thing that we have something like Deep Funding for this, right? Because if we have to rely on our internal team to try and navigate all these possible journeys and solutions and initiatives, we would never have enough people, and we wouldn't have enough focus to do it. So I think here Deep Funding again can play a very important role by funding small and dedicated teams that are focused on doing a specific thing in this wider ecosystem. And yeah, that is the foundation of decentralization, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those kind of proposals that would explore this this partnership. Thank you, Subir.
All right. Quick check in the room if anyone else has a deep funding and token merger related question. Because I think we're basically through our list that
I have a question. I
Yeah,
joined
sure.
late, so I may be repeating some earlier discussions, but I've posted 2 questions in different areas that I'm curious what others are thinking. My first question is, I've been advocating that we drop the word artificial from discussions about machine intelligence. And I noticed that Ocean Protocol and Fetch.ai both called the new alliance the Superintelligence Alliance rather than the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. So I'm curious, what's the official title of this new alliance? Maybe I'll just pause with that. That's my first question.
Yeah, we have a website called superintelligence.io. So the superintelligence is emphasized. The ticker that we're aiming for is ASI. So there's official. I think it's also a nice historic pointer to AGI and AGIX. So we're going from AGI via AGIX to ASI, and that makes perfect sense in the narrative, I would say. But I agree with you, Kenrick. I think perhaps at some point, we're not quite there yet, but at some point, the A in artificial will lose its meaning. Yeah, whether we should already prepare for that and change our name. I have the feeling it's a little bit late for that. And
Well,
maybe
the only thing, I guess what I'm asking for further clarification from, like you say, I kind of support the idea of keeping A in the ticker. There's lots of good reasons to do that. So the ticker is ASI.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there is an official name for the alliance itself.
Yeah, now you mention it, I think it's mainly called right now the Superintelligence Alliance.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So we're working on branding, or there is being worked on branding. It will take a little while before that is fully materialized, and I think this might be part of it. But Superintelligence Alliance sounds great to me.
Yeah. Here's my second question. And you probably already discussed this, but I apologize. I got confused about the invitations and was late. The Cardano community has expressed strongly that they don't want to have to move coins over to the Ethereum network in order to do the exchange. Is that going to be possible for users, or what are the thoughts there? And I'm sure I'm repeating earlier questions, but I missed the discussion.
No, it's a very good question. It has been debated internally also, and we did contemplate a route where you would go via Ethereum to ASI on Cardano back, but the latest information I have, as I mentioned before, is that there will be a migration contract bringing you directly from AGI on Cardano, AGIX on Cardano to ASI on Cardano.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I think that's smart.
And I think you mentioned also that could we do it in the bridge, or could we do it transparently? I think that would have been plan B. If we wouldn't be able to have a simple migration contract, we would do it in the bridge and perhaps have that thing done in the background. So yeah, we're trying to accommodate all our Cardano AGIX holders with a process that is as seamless as possible.
That's awesome. Great to hear. Thank you.
And thank you for your questions. Great questions.
Subir, you have your hand up.
Oh, Peter mentioned in the chat. Yeah, and that goes also for the bridge, right? I mentioned that before. The migration contract might take a little work, so it might not be there from day one. But then again, as I mentioned before, there is no the transaction rates will stay the same, is static. So even if it will be a couple of weeks or a month or whatever later, you will still be able to use it at your convenience. Thank you for the link, Mauro.
Subir, did you still have a question, or was the hand up from before?
No, I took it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I have many questions. I will reserve my questions for, the near future.
The near future. Well, we have time now if you have a question.
No. So the reason I said that is, I read the entire paper last night, so I have my notes, but these are not questions. These are probably, I'm sure we'll have discussions around this very in the coming months anyway, right? So
Yes, Subir, talking about discussions, next week listening session is just discussions about this. So unlike this particular session where we have Jan answering questions, the one of next week in the listening session, he's not going to be answering. We just want to be discussing. So I think that would be a perfect session for this, where we just express how we feel about what's going on in the ecosystem. It has nothing to do with Jan. We don't need a response, but we just need a place to discuss.
no, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot in there, right? So it's all interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that will be Thursday at 18 UTC, or are you keeping it at 19 UTC? What time is it? The listening session?
Oh, now the adjustment is making me.
Yeah, so we switched with daylight saving times. We went together with daylight saving times. So that's the reason why Kenrick here was a little bit late, because he's in his he was still on the old channel. So for me, nothing changed in the time. For Kenrick, it's now suddenly an hour earlier than before. I have to say, for me, this is a very convenient time. But we can have a discussion on that if needed.
Yeah, we will.
I have to interject though. I'm completely on UTC. Even my own clocks, even though I'm in America, my home clocks are UTC. It wasn't an UTC issue. It was the way the invitation came across in my calendar. And it was on, actually, no, it was the Discord. It was on Discord. So I know we're migrating to Mattermost. I probably should have gone to that first. But the Discord channel currently says 1900 UTC as the time for today's meeting.
Oh,
but not in the, you mean the Discord calendar? You mean the calendar or the announcement?
Like the event calendar in Discord says that today's meeting was starting at 1900 UTC.
Because all the announcement in Discord said 18 UTC.
Yeah,
I'm sure they did.
To double check the event calendar, but I think when I checked, it said, like for me, it shows this time in Discord. Like for me, it shows.
Anyway,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So, well, we're 20 minutes past the hour. Usually we go full 2 hours in town halls. Recently, we've always gone full 2 hours, but maybe we also don't want to make that a habit. So I'm gonna do one more quick check in the room if anyone still has questions relating to.
Should there not be any question, I can make a small, well, announcement is a large word, but a mention. of something which is not merger related, but maybe related to Deep Funding Round 4.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Unless there are any merger questions, and I'm happy to answer them as well. I'll just so what was just in my mind, I thought if we have 5 minutes, maybe this is a good time to mention it, as next week there's a listening session and time is going on. So about Deep Funding Round 4, we will have new projects pool, we will have ideation pool, we'll have a marketing pool. We will not have a tooling pool because we think RFPs are better suited for that purpose than a general pool. But we will also have a new pool, which is RFP creation pool. So the new process would be that anybody could create an idea for an RFP, and some people would be rewarded to create to write an RFP. And for this round, and I'm not sure if this is something we will do ongoingly, because we might be decoupling it completely from Deep Funding rounds, but might also be both things, I don't know. But at least for this round, we're thinking of having RFP creation pool. So it's a little bit similar as the ideation pool, but in the ideation pool, you would define a project that you want to submit in the next round, and you need a little bit of funding to get going, do market research, whatever, have a technical design, something like that. And the RFP creation pool would allow you to get some budget to start writing an RFP. And the way I'm thinking about it right now, nothing is set in stone completely here, but the way I'm thinking about it now is that we will maximize that pool, not to a maximum number of RFPs. So let's not talk numbers right now. We'll do that afterwards. But I'd rather have 3 significant RFP proposals than 10 very small ones, because these small RFP proposals might get awarded with large sums, the proposals that would be submitted to these RFPs. So therefore, we have to be a little bit cautious and limit it to a small number of RFPs that could be created. But I hope this is a way to get people familiar with the idea of writing an RFP without necessarily being able to develop it, so allow other people to develop. But if there are people that are very good in specification or have a great idea that they would like to see developed, then you have the opportunity to get funded and carve out some time to make such an RFP proposal. And also in this situation, it's the community that can decide which of these ideas would be most valuable for our platform and our community. So I'm looking forward. I have no idea if it will get traction, if there will be a lot of ideas or no ideas, if people like writing RFPs or not. But that will be an interesting experiment in itself. And you know, there's never a Deep Funding round without a good new experiment. So this could be the experiment of Deep Funding Round 4. Maybe we should keep that in as a tradition. Any questions about that?
Yeah, and if I may, just for clarity, right? So you're thinking in the long term, right? More RFP creation, ideation, and less projects, or more, larger, meaningful projects that are selected from the ideation/RFPs?
The short answer would be yes. The little bit more nuanced answer will be it will never be only RFPs, at least in the future, and the way I foresee it right now. I think there is merit to having open pools where everybody can create their own ideas and develop it. And I think there's merit to RFPs. My expectation today is that the process of RFPs is better suited for very high valued proposals. So if you want to, Ben would put some numbers out here if you make an example. I won't. If you would like to have a very high priced proposal, I think the RFP route is a better one. So what I can imagine is that maybe not in this round, I don't know actually, we might set an upper limit to proposals that are being funded through regular pools. And if you want to go beyond that limit, then maybe you should write an RFP, because then we decouple the value of the projects from the team that is developing it. But this is my vision at this moment. So these things might still change. We might discuss it with the all circles. And yeah, we will have increasing new insights ongoing.
So the RFPs are like a finishing school of sorts. Yeah.
Okay. A finish.
No, you're grooming for something special, right? So if you go through this process, that's no, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, maybe Subir, what a good example is, I can remember that you had some proposals in the tooling section. And we didn't want the tooling section or pool to become larger than the regular projects pool. I don't know how we called it at that time. So there could be one project that would warrant a large sum. But if we would have a pool for that, it could be that sum would be distributed in a very different way. So I think the process of creating an RFP and first defining what is most valuable to us to have developed separately from the development process, would make a lot more sense. And that's also actually a reason why for tooling projects, I also think RFPs are the better choice.
Yeah. No. Perhaps I'm saying this in a very circumlocuted way that this is a great idea. So,
yay! All right. The fascinating topic of I can't wait to have more front-end tooling for RFPs available. But there are some other things that are in the pipeline that need to be done. We're working on that. Oh, and about Deep Funding Round 4 and our platform. We are pushing out right now some new changes and some new features on our platform. One of the things that will be very visible is a counter. So everybody who will visit Deep Funding will see when the next round is and how long you have to submit your proposal and when voting starts and all those kind of things. I think it looks really cool. And there are some other changes as well. We have more structured AI services. We want to know a little bit more information on the AI service. And something that I think is really, really wonderful is a notification system. So if you put out your proposal and somebody gives feedback, you will get a notification. If you give feedback to a proposal and somebody answered that, you will get a notification. And those notifications will be visible on the platform when you visit it, but will also be daily aggregated in a single mail. So you will keep updated. And I hope with this thing, we can have the conversations on Deep Funding more going and more action reaction and more dynamic. Because if you put feedback there and you go back the next day and you don't see anything, then chances are that you won't get back anymore. But if somebody answers you and you can see that in the email and you can visit it, I hope it will fuel more dialogues and more engagement online. So we're continuing to build. I'm looking forward to see the new. The test round was very positive, as you know, but I'm looking forward to see how the new platform will perform in a real Deep Funding round. And as a matter of fact, today we also migrated Deep Funding to a new service provider. which should be much faster than the previous one. So in the test round, we suffered a little bit here and there from slow speeds, and we analyzed that the reason for this was not the code of the platform, but had more to do with shared hosting and the network of the provider at that time. So yeah, we changed that, and that's just one other way that we are working on preparation for Deep Funding Round 4.
Nice. I see in the chat there's one more question by Steve. I read in the Alliance report that you wish to integrate financial services. Can you talk about that? Jan, is that something you can speak to or that you want to speak to?
I don't know what. I think it had maybe something to do with predictor, because predictor currently does. Yeah, that. Yeah, I think that is probably the link here. So I mentioned predictor from Ocean before. They have these prediction services on exchange prices, etc. And together, all these prediction engines together will give a generic prediction which is better than each of the similar ones. And the way that I heard Trent talking about this is he sees this as a different kind of artificial general intelligence, just a general intelligence of a different kind than a human kind, something that we're not used to, because he says we can also extend that, for instance, to predicting the price of energy, so you can better sell and buy and be more energy efficient. And I thought that was an interesting idea, predicting the weather. Now, suppose you would predict the weather. I'm living here in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands, and there would be 10 predicting engines for Eindhoven, and we would choose, and from that, a meta prediction would be created. Now, suppose you would do that also in other areas in the world, then you would get a prediction of the weather in the world, and an AI could go over that and connect all these things and come up with even better predictions. And in the end, what it will do is create a world model, in this case of the weather. So it will create a model of the weather in the world, but as prediction engine in an abstract way. So yeah, you could continue that on other areas and other domains as well. So this is, I think, where this whole financial services thing came from. And of course, SingularityNET, we also have our own financial spin-offs. We have Cogito working with stable coins, or tracer coins, I should say. And we have Singularity DAO having launch pads and Dynasets. So there's already a lot of DeFi and financial work going on in the SingularityNET ecosystem itself. I think this answer was more than you asked for, but there you go.
No, that's actually great, Jan. Thank you very much. You perfectly answered to my question. I will look into any of the project that you mentioned. That's great.
Cool. Thank you, Steve, and welcome here.
Thanks.
All right, maybe we should break this tradition of always going over time, since I think I could use a pause right now, Judith. But if anybody else wants to talk for half an hour, be my guest.
Okay. All right. So for next week's for the town hall in 2 weeks, I'm not going to promise it's going to be at 18 UTC. We will be putting out a poll to the community and see if you prefer 18 UTC or 19 UTC, or maybe a completely different time. Maybe you want to change to a even more summer friendly time. We'll put out a poll and we'll see what the community says around the town hall time. Thank you, Jan, for your patience in answering all these many questions. I think it was really helpful, and I'm glad we did this because the community had so many questions and concerns, and I think it's so important that they get their certainty and they get their questions answered, especially now that the vote is live. So thank you.
Thank you for all the good questions, actually. So I appreciate that. You know, also, I'm so proud of this deep funding community, truly. We're all constructive here. That is not the case in each and every Telegram group. I try to avoid them as much as possible, to be honest. But I'm really so glad and proud and happy with the deep funding community here. So each and every question was a great question, and it was a pleasure answering them. Thank you.
I second that. Thank you so much. And I guess have a good evening or afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the world. And we will see you next week for the listening session, or in 2 weeks for the next town hall at whatever time it may be. And I will make sure to communicate it properly so that even the last person knows what time it is.
Thank you, Judith, for arranging all of this each week again. We really rely on you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.